So a couple nights ago I did my first game essay, and after that I went straight to the community tab and asked you guys which game you wanted me to review next, and the winner was Cars the video game, and it's very easy to see coming. Cars is a powerhouse Disney franchise, and everyone on this planet knows what Cars is. It might even be more well known than Toy Story, and that's saying a lot. Cars is a monster seller in terms of merchandise, clothes, and yes, video games, which we're going to talk about today. Now this game is very nostalgic to me, and I did play it a lot as a kid, but I never got that far and eventually lost the game for a while. But later on, when I went to a game corner in a flea market, I bought it again and finally completed it. And what did I think of it as a whole? It does a better job as a sequel to the original Cars than its actual sequel, and expands the characters and world in interesting and compelling ways, and actually focuses on Lightning McQueen and follows up on his journey in the first Cars, like a good sequel should. But as a game, it's not that great. I wouldn't say it's bad, but by the end of it I was very underwhelmed, and today we are going to talk about why Cars the video game is a better sequel but a mixed bag. So like I said, the story is a follow-up to the first Cars movie and expands the Cars universe, unlike the last Pixar game The Incredibles. So what's the story? Well, it's basically Rocky 2, where the villain from the last movie feels cheated out of a victory because the main character did something that made the bad guy feel unsatisfied with his win. In this case it was when Lightning helped the king cross the checkered line, and basically you have to train, do some tasks and some side missions in order to progress the story. Yeah, this is one of those games where you have a hub, and the further you progress, the levels you unlock. In this case it's racetracks. Now this isn't a bad idea, since it means you get to explore the world outside Radiator Springs and meet some new characters and explore new locations, open world stuff which adds the playability of playing a car. However, there really isn't a lot to explore. The most that you'll see are rocky areas as well as loose forests. Other than that, there's not really a lot to look at, and there's not a lot of new characters you meet either, mostly just the same copy and paste tourist cars you'll see in town. That's not to say the gameplay is bad, though the controls of the characters are very well thought out, and you can tell they wanted you to feel like you were driving a car, which really adds to that car's authenticity. You can go turn and drift, and rocky walls, drive up a hill and jump really high, and you can do tricks. Now unlike The Incredibles, all the characters are controlled the same. I don't really need to go into the others like I did for The Incredibles, but you can really tell the team behind this game had a lot of fun and creative passion when making this game. Now unlike The Incredibles, this game was not developed by Heavy Iron Studios, instead it was done by Rainbow Studios, and this will be the only time they developed a game for Pixar. The rest of the Pixar games were either developed by Heavy Iron or Asobo, which is odd, because they did a really good job here. They captured the look and feel of Cars perfectly with this game. The graphics are very colorful, expressive, and energetic. The character graphics have the exact same charisma as the animation from the movie, which really adds an extra boost to the cutscenes. I would have liked to have seen this studio do more Pixar games, cause they knocked it out of the racetrack. The levels themselves are hit and miss, and most of them are racing levels. Sometimes you're training with Doc. Sometimes you're racing around Radiator Springs, and the highlight of the game, the Piston Cup races. These levels are the game's most important. You must get past through these to progress the game. Otherwise you won't unlock new missions, and you can't go any further in the game. Some of these were extremely aggravating to play through, because I would keep slowing down and the game would constantly make the other cars go faster. I like a good challenge, but come on. As for the story of the game, and yes, I'm reviewing the story in a Pixar game, it's pretty strong and develops the characters in very interesting ways. The best thing by far that I have to praise about this game is it developed Lightning McQueen and Doc Hudson's relationship. They barely interacted in the movie, and when they did it wasn't pleasant. So to see them actually training together and hanging out with each other is just so thrilling to see. And you really believe that history they talked about in Cars 3. They also really improved the villain chick Hicks in this game, where he actually does some villainous things. In the first movie he was barely in it. He didn't really have that much of a connection to McQueen, and didn't really have a pivotal purpose in the story, other than the fact he's the arrogant rival and is more of an antagonist than a villain. In this game, however, he is a full-on villain. He actually spies on McQueen as he's training with Duck, and later on tries to sabotage McQueen, trying to ensure there's no way for him to win. Through all of his appearances in the game, Chick Hicks is a slimy, conniving foe that we want to see get taken down. Now I said that the ending was underwhelming, and the reason why is just like the Incredibles game, the final level is incredibly generic. It's the exact same Piston Cup race level as all the other ones. There isn't anything that stands out about IT. There's not any changes or twists to make IT interesting or challenging as a final level. It's just the exact same as the others. Couldn't they have added an extra level after this, like a final battle against Hicks, to make IT feel like a grand finale as boring and lame as Save the World was? At least IT gave you a final boss to fight and IT felt somewhat climactic. This is just incredibly lame. But regardless of that, I think Cars the video game is a solid game. It's nowhere near as great or fun as the Incredibles game, but it's definitely an enjoyable enough experience. But I think they should have taken this story and used IT for the actual Cars too. IT was more consistent with themes and character development of the first movie. IT explored the relationship between Doc and McQueen, and IT did a much better job with the villain. At least Chick Hicks made sense and wasn't relegated to a bullshit oil conspiracy that ultimately made no sense whatsoever. Seriously, fuck Miles Xlarod, especially for making Pixar's twist villain stupid. But as a game, IT leaves a lot to be desired. The levels are the exact same. The open world you explore isn't very interesting, and aside from 1 or 2 levels, nothing about this game is that memorable. It's just your average middle-of-the-road tie-in game, but I will give IT credit. The people making this clearly put a lot of heart and passion into this game, and you can tell by the mechanics and the way they try to recapture the look and feel of the movie. IT wasn't just mad for financial gain, and I respect that. But as a whole, it's just okay. If you decide to play IT, you'll get some enjoyment out of IT, but if you want my honest opinion, I recommend you just play Tractor Tipping. The game is very fun, and IT gets extremely challenging, and in my opinion is much better than the entire game. But that's just me. Anyways guys, what do you think of the Cars game? Do you like IT or dislike IT? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you guys later.